Hello everybody, it's Warren Huart here. Hope you're doing marvellously well. I am full of flu. It's been, I went away for the weekend and it was a long weekend, as you know, President's Day here in the US, and I got ill. So I'm on all kinds of medications. So please forgive me if I just ramble on even more than I normally do. Okay, we're back. If you haven't already, please subscribe. There's a notification bell, hit that bell thingy down there. And of course, go to producelikeapro.com and you can sign up for the email list, get a whole bunch of free goods. And of course, you can try out the Academy. We're just about to launch a new version of it, sort of more updated version as well. So that's quite exciting. Okay, frequently asked questions Friday. First up, we have question on blue headphones. How sturdy are they, especially that bendy part that connect the headphone to the band? Can you throw me the headphones, please, young Eric von Derrickson? Well, what's interesting is, first of all, the cable is unpluggable. He just unplugged the cable because it's plugged into my laptop. So that's pretty nifty. Pretty sturdy. To be honest, we've only been using these now, I don't know, for about a year, 9 months maybe. And we've not had a pair break, bearing in mind, Eric is actually wearing a pair that he was given by Blue. And our singers use them as well. Everybody loves how comfortable they are. Because they, see what they do? They do this to the side of your head as opposed to like hinging from the middle and sort of squeezing your head. I've had other pairs of headphones, almost all of them have broken over a certain period of months, with different singers and people just kind of throwing them off. I'll tell you ones that have never broken. Biodynamic, I have several pairs of biodynamic headphones over the years. All of those seem to be pretty darn bulletproof. So between that and the Blues, absolutely fantastic. Okay, next up. What do you think about using earbuds for tracking? At least when it comes to bleeding, they are superior to most headphones. That's a great question. I know a lot of drummers that put earbuds in, or in-ears, they have like proper IEMs, in-ear monitors. They put them in and then they put a pair of headphones over the top. And that sort of secures them and gives complete isolation. What do I mean by that? The headphones over the top of the earbuds keeps out like extra bleed coming into them, not vice versa. Not sound leaking headphones. That's normally what you're worried about. If you put on a pair of headphones for a singer and they don't have good isolation and they're not comfortable and fit tight like the Blues, you're going to get a lot of bleed into the microphone, especially if you're using a lot of gain and a lot of compression, which you may be on, a certain part of the vocal. Or, the bleed isn't, you don't realize the bleed's there until you come to compress the vocal and then you hear click, click, click in the middle of the vocal. So, yes, lots of people, particularly drummers, use IEMs, in-ear monitors, and then they'll put the headphones over the top to isolate sound bleeding into it so they can hear the IEMs better. Hope you're enjoying this. Of course, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and of course, go to producelikeapro.com, sign up for the email list, try out the Academy. It's absolutely amazing. When performing the car test, should the EQ on the car stereo be set flat, or should it be left the way the driver has it set up? Okay. Glad you brought up the car test, because there's been a lot of discussion about this. And I find the car test infinitely valuable for this reason, this main reason. Many, many, many of us listen to music, yes, you guessed it, in the car. So the reason why we do the car test is because you know how music sounds in there. That's why I do the car test. If there's going to be a couple of places that you're going to know well, it's going to be between those speakers, maybe some headphones that you use generally, and, of course, driving in your car. That's the reason why I love the car test. So, why did I say that? To answer your question directly, leave it the way that you're used to hearing it. If you do have like a bass boost on it, but all the music you listen to sounds great and has like a little bit of oomph, fantastic. Put your mix on. If it's blowing up the speakers, don't adjust the bass for it. Reference, something you love. Put on a CD, go to Sirius Satellite, find a track that you love and reference it. But ultimately, the number one reason why many of us, a lot of mixers, a lot of people, bands coming in and, mixing with mixers, why everybody loves to go to the car and do the quote unquote car test is because that's where we're used to hearing music. What is the typical cost of having a track mastered? Wow, typical cost. I don't know if the cheapest, personally speaking, the cheapest good mastering that I've heard, like high quality, has been about $85 a song. That's not including, manufacturing CDs or creating, references and stuff like that, but just mastering a song and then sending it back. The cheapest I've got a good, quote unquote, good result is about 85. Now, there may be cheaper people. Maybe there's people that will do you favors or friends, but ultimately, it's not something you want to cheap out on. Now, great mastering engineers, the best in the world, will charge somewhere about $400 or $500 an hour. Yes, about $400 or $500 an hour. The big mastering, maybe more, but the big mastering engineers are in huge rooms that are acoustically treated with massive speakers, tons of outboard, as well as, in the box, and they're able to make massive choices and decide what they want to do, try different converters, print it off tape or onto tape, do all kinds of different things. And you're going to pay for that. You're not only going to pay for that huge room and that enormous amount of equipment, you're also going to pay for that guy's ears. If I'm going to hire Bob Ludwig, inarguably the most successful, most famous mastering engineer in the world, if you're going to hire him, it's not to say there aren't other amazing guys, but most mastering engineers consider him to be the mastering engineer's mastering engineer. So if you're going to hire him, you're going to pay top dollar. You're going to pay top dollar because it's not just about, I have Ozone or I have this plugin, which, are good tools. You are paying for an enormous, a massive, a huge amount of acquired knowledge. Over 50 plus years of him mastering, from anything to vinyl, cassette, CDs, MP3s, waves, whatever. He's mastered everything. He's mastered DSD. He's done 5.1s, 7.1s. He's moving probably into Atmos as we speak. All of this stuff is being done by these top guys. So you are paying top dollar to get that massive acquired knowledge. Mastering is not always, like anything in the arts, it's not always just about like making it loud and having boom and fizz. There's more to it. A great mastering engineer can get the volume up so it sounds competitive without it sounding crushed. Simply putting compression, EQ, multiband compressors, and limiting on it will make it loud. You may even, with a multiband, get it nice and even. It might all the frequencies. Doesn't mean it's going to sound good. It just means that technically it will be loud and somewhat mushy sounding. When you go to, speaking of Bob or Adam Ayen over at Gateway, when you use guys like that, which we often do, and we use other mastering engineers as well, obviously. Warren Sokol we use a lot. Eric Boulanger is somebody out here who's doing great work. And of course, Gavin Lurson at Lurson Mastering with Ruben Cohen. These are all guys that we use all the time. These are wonderful mastering engineers with enormous acquired knowledge. That is the point. You've got that. You're paying for all of that equipment, but you're paying for the ears and the ability to use that incredible equipment. And like I said, I've recently experienced the budget version with the expensive version. Unfortunately, if I have a choice and I have spent, a month making your album and then mixing it and spending, days doing recalls and tweaking the hi-hat just the way you want to hear it, I'm not going to give it to your friend to master. I'm just not. And it happens a lot. People want to skimp out the end. Oh, my friend will do it for $50 a song in 2 hours, the whole album. It's like, that's not what I want. Not what you want either. You want somebody, speaking of like guys like Adam Ayen, he will call me and say, hey, Warren, this sounds great, but there's a little bump at 100 that I had to pull out. And I'll be like, fantastic. And then I'll come back and realize I boosted a little extra 100. He makes me a better mixer because of it. That is why you use these great guys. So mastering, like I said, the best master I've ever got that was cheap was about $85, which I know is not cheap. If you're doing a whole album, that's close to $1,000, depending on whether you're doing 10 or 12 songs. So I get it, it's not cheap. However, that is like the beginning place of a pretty okay mastering engineer. When you want the big guys, they're gonna be about $450 to $500 an hour. Now, it might be that they can do 2 songs in an hour. It might be they spend a long time on one song. It might be they can do your whole album in 4 hours. The point is like, it depends on how much work they have to do to it. but also all of the other millions of things they're going to do, mastering for all of the different kinds of medium out there. That's why you use a great mastering engineer. I'm not just sending you an MP3 back. They're creating media that can be used in all kinds of different environments, whether it be 16-bit 44.1 for CDs, 48K for TV, film and TV, now moving up to 88.2, 96. There's all kinds of requirements. And so having a professional mastering engineer is a huge deal. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to talk down to anybody. Many of us, myself included, don't have budgets for mastering. I've mastered many songs on my own. It's not what I like to do, but that is a reality as well. Anyway, getting back to the point, I love this discussion. Thank you. Lots of comments and questions below, but I love this discussion. But yes, the cheapest I've found of a good guy or girl is about 85 a song. Another mastering question. How do you find a mastering engineer to work with? You know, I don't want to have an order of hierarchy, but these are all people I've used. Kim Rosen just worked with one of our Academy members, did an amazing job. Emily Lazar just worked with Christina Holmes, did an amazing job. Warren Sokol, as you know, has mastered a lot of stuff for us, even has a mastering course, which you can get and is really, really good. He's been mastering some of other Academy members' stuff. So this is great, this sense of community and people helping each other. Then, of course, you move up to like Bob Ludwig, who is, a giant among mastering engineers, incredible, mastered all the Queen albums. Need I say any more? Look, I mentioned Queen. Look, how long did I go before I didn't mention Queen? All right, so, and then, of course, Adam Ayen, absolutely phenomenal. Seems to win a Grammy every year or two. Doing great. Then, of course, Gavin Lurson and Ruben Cohen. And last, but definitely no means least, of course, Eric Boulanger, who we interviewed a few weeks ago, who's also massively talented. So there are more. Mao Applebaum. There's so many great mastering engineers. So if you're asking me for a reference, I mean, I've probably just named 10, but anybody from that list is going to do an amazing job. Absolutely amazing, amazing job. But again, it comes down to your budget. Try not to skimp on it. If you can, try and save enough to use one of the better people. Because the last thing you want to do is take this track that you've spent hours mixing, creating beautiful depth and width, and then have somebody just annihilate it, squash it so hard that front and back is like nothing. Everything's like forward. The width folds in because they've smashed it too hard. This is important. The other thing that maybe I would suggest, and something we've done quite a few times while we're talking about mastering, is if you don't have a big budget, try this. Take the singles, like the 2 or 3 singles, or the single, and have that mastered by one of the top people. And then after that, if you don't have any budget left, then find somebody less expensive and get them to get close to what one of the top guys or girls did. That way, you're going to be able to have a balance of sound. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have something that's close to it, but at least the song that gets on the radio or is going to be a video playing, is going to do really, really good. Another mastering question. Self-mastering a demo, purely to bring it up to LUFS standard, is this okay to do? I think that goes back to what we were just talking about. Yes, I mean, honestly, if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. It's going to suck. I'm talking about all these amazing master engineers, which are some of the best in the world. And I'm just going to admit that quite often, I just put T-Racks on it, put a little bit of compression, a little bit of boom and fizz, extra bit of 60, some like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, some gentle slope at the top. And then maybe limit it with an L2 gently, and it doesn't drastically change it, but it makes it sound pretty phenomenal. T-Racks mastering software is pretty darn good. And just to let you know, it is a secret weapon of many, many, I'll say it again, many, 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 many mixers. We use the T-Racks to get the level up and just hit it just a little bit harder before sending to a client. Highly, highly recommend it. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please hit the like button. That would be really amazing. Leave any comments and questions you might have below. This is where we read the comments and questions for the next week's Fact Friday. And of course, subscribe and go to Produce Like a Pro and sign up for the email list. And of course, you can join the Academy as well.